Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to GPVWC. It's Formula Sprint 2 and our first career ladder race back since the spring break. I'm Tom Dillon. Alongside me for this race around the 4.655 kilometre circuit to Barcelona, Catalonia, is Jan Granqvist. And Jan, the circuit Catalonia is an interesting one now, actually. We saw the Formula 1 race here at the weekend. That's not good. Looking at the screen, but we'll press on. We saw the new layout at the Formula 1 race at the weekend. This is also on that new layout, and it should make for some fantastic racing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, as previously mentioned, this new layout does make things now interesting, as the cheeky little chicane that people have used to hate. I say hate as a quite strong word, even as a corner, since it has been quite a pain with it potentially killing a lots of battles going on to the main straight. But now we do not have that, and we're definitely looking forward to what that can bring towards this race in Formula Sprint 2.
And thankfully, the lag problem has resolved itself, so we can get into the next 15 minutes of qualifying. It has only just started, actually, when we were doing the intro and things, so 15 seconds gone at the moment. You're having a look at, I would assume, Luke Mitchell, without being able to see the racing number from my screen in the... oh no, in Massimiliano Riboni I'm hearing. My apologies. So here you go, out through into Rosberg and Hamilton's corner of turn 3, and then up into turn 4. Then you climb the hill, of course, at this circuit, and well, Rivoli is, I'm sure, going to be after a pretty good weekend today. Jan, I apologise. It's been a while since I've done a sim racing commentary. It's going to take a moment, but yeah, he's going to look for a good weekend here, because he hasn't really got off the mark just yet in this championship. He sits fourth, but he's had a run of poor results, let's say. Not been on the podium since race 2 in Bahrain.
Yeah, that's quite surprising, actually, considering just how strong we first assumed Alpha Sierra. Looking back at Imola, obviously, but yeah, things have sort of let's not say has not been going fully their way, but it's just how racing is, isn't it? It's like you just cannot sort of predict these outcomes, and right now he sits somewhere a bit further down than we first predicted, but I'm sure he can also claw his way back with some better results going on through this season.
Absolutely is. He makes his way up through into turn 3 for the first time. Turn 1 is the right-hander, and the second part of that chicane is classed as turn 2, giving that swooping corner the turn 3 banner. Massey isn't actually fastest in sector 1 at the moment. That is Magnus Ockenhaug, who has set the fastest first sector, though a lot of drivers are circulating at the moment. Massey will have to try and make it up in this second sector as he makes his way up into turn 9, and our second DRS zone on at this circuit. This hairpin at the end of this back straight has been widened in the last couple of years and made a little bit looser, so you can overtake it quite nicely. I think we'll maybe see some overtakes around the outside here as you go down into the next right-hander. It's purple in the second sector for Massey, but his teammate Luke Mitchell, who's also in the second sector, has actually gone fastest instead. Now through the new sequence of final corners here, Massimiliano Riboli through zone 14. Is he going to get himself onto the top step provisionally? Through into third, actually, as they flurry across the line. Maxime Bilou into second, and Luke Mitchell gets up into third. But that is encouraging, I think, Jan, for Massey.
Yeah, definitely. But again, looking how close the gaps are, it's definitely going to be a close fight up until the end. Looking at the times now as Lucas Tulin, should I say? I've been trying to pronounce it right this time, since I keep pronouncing it the English way, but yeah, they just came across the line, and seeing as it is P24 for him right now, and they were the final car to cross the line as I was looking at the timetable. So now we're seeing most of the cars going across the grid, and we can really say that Massey has solidified himself into P3 with that lap, and yeah, definitely looking good for the first few runs. But yeah, this wait and see what happens as the cars cross the line a few more times.
Well, Luke Mitchell is on a back-to-back as he goes through the final acceleration zone of the circuit. They should be able to take this turn 13 flat in these cars, I would suspect, but I think Luke's going to go into the sanctuary of the pit lane, and he does do exactly that in his Alfa Sierra car, so only the one lap for Luke Mitchell. Apparently, according to someone in chat, the tyre drop-off around this circuit is quite significant indeed, so perhaps we are only going to see the drivers going around for a single lap. Here's Scott Mitchell-Marr making his way through that final couple of corners. I am actually so glad we've got rid of that horrible chicane at the end of the lap. I can never get it right when I've driven around here. Here goes Scott Mitchell-Marr, and then up into 7th. A decent lap for him as well, and purple in that final sector. That final sector as well, by the way, is actually one heavy braking zone of the hairpin. Then it's flat out from there, essentially, once you get through that throttle zone of turn 12. So it's surprising that you can even make up time in the final sector.
Yeah, that is true, obviously, but let's not forget there's a lot of time that you can gain through, obviously, fine-tuning your setup. So if you can find a car that's just really well balanced through those high-speed corners, you'll be able to gain a lot of time there.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, now having a look at Bobby Vakanov in P16 at the moment, looking to get his Scuderia Freccia Nera car up the order a little bit, perhaps, at least for Bobby, into the points-paying positions. Here he goes, crossing the line, 26.8 to beat 27.4 across the line. He does get himself up one position into P15, just ahead of Jack Nichols in 16th. So again, a fairly reasonable lap for Bobby at the moment. Looking at Scott Mitchell-Martin, purple in the second sector, looking to get the beating of his brother, but into the pit lane he goes. So getting the beating of his brother is going to have to wait.
Yeah, it seems there is a glimmer of hope in improving on your second lap, but a lot of people are opting out to go straight into the pits and just focus on the next one rather than completing their second run, because they know that they absolutely cannot make a third run on the track. While we see Dominic Schlabon getting it quite loose through the exit there, and now he's gone over the gravel track. Yeah, that's that lap done for Dominic, I'm afraid. But yeah, definitely an interesting mix of people right now in the top 10, to be honest. Looking at Craig Patson and Seva Panasenko in P9 with Patrick Magnusson also in P8, so it's good to see these guys up there.
And Jesse Lattinen for GPVWC Academy, 11th at the moment, up through into that DRS zone of Sector 3, or Sector 3 is actually at the end of this straight. I think it's right in the braking zone, as you can see there, just before the braking zone. So the track makers very smart on that one. Uses a lot of curb on the inside, not letting the car run out a great deal on that outside. Uses all the track on the entry into turn 12, and then opens it up all over this curve. The guys opening up the car well and truly, actually, as they go into these final couple of corners, just making sure they get the optimal line through. And well, yes, yellow in the second sector, yellow in the third sector. He was purple in the first, and he was able to jump. Well, he wasn't able to jump anywhere, actually. He was jumped by, I think that was perhaps Craig Patterson. Seva Panasenko goes 5th, Lattinen into 12th, though.
Interestingly, about that first sector, it wasn't the session best first sector, but it did appear purple there because Roy Seifert has jumped all the way to the top of the timing table, and that's where the timing comparison comes from. So that is why first sector was appearing purple for Yasser, but now Roy Seifert has absolutely made an amazing lap and is now top of the timing sheets.
Seifert has been sort of giving the championship challenge to Luke Mitchell, 95 points ahead to Luke Mitchell. So to say Luke is running away with the championship, here he is now up into Sector 2 is probably a little bit of an understatement. But Roy has got the better of him once in this season by winning at the round 2. Race 1 in Bahrain, I should say, rather not round 2. Well, it was round 2, but not race 2 in Bahrain. It was race 1 that he got the better of Luke Mitchell, pushed him right up to the line in San Marino as well, second in race 2. Luke is backing out of his next qualifying attempt. 5 minutes or 6 minutes just about to go in this session. So Luke obviously deciding that it's time to go out at the end. Scott Mitchell looking very good on this lap. Purple in the first 2 sectors, but he's marginally down on his his brother's rival in Roy Seifert with a 128.8. Can Scott Mitchell-Mom put in the ideal final sector? He's got a little bit deep onto that curb into the final corner, crosses the line and goes pole. Scott Mitchell-Mom 1/10 of a second ahead of Roy Seifert. Where has that pace come from?
Yeah, that is absolutely brilliant pace, I have to say. I did take my time actually scouting these cars out just beforehand, and getting a 126.6, getting into a 126 mid is legitimately at the point where you're okay. This is the sort of pace that would already solidify you as one of the best in GPV overall, I'd say. That is how fast a 26 mid is in this track with these cars.
And as well, I want to mention that it appears that Roy Seifert has got a penalty for when I'm scouring through the race director reports now to try and find where the details of that is, but a penalty. So if he is going to get pole position today, that is not going to stand. He'll have a grid penalty for his troubles. I'll go and scour through our race director announcements to find out the exact details of it. And Nürburgring, apparently, I'm hearing. So there we go. Thank you for that, producer Vincent Gutt. Luca Thailand on a lap, yeah.
Yeah, here we see Lucas Thulin in P19, so he's improved on his few laps, but yeah, it's fairly it's a fair bit further down than what we saw originally in Imola, but this might very well be a setup thing. It's difficult to keep up your form with these cars, especially when you have to change setup from track to track, and here we probably see one of the unfortunate people suffering from that problem right now. As we definitely know Lucas has that pace in him, but it's just not showing in some of these other tracks.
30 place grid penalty for Roy Seifert, so in fact he's got to go pole position just to not start last today, so that will be slightly frustrating for him. It almost is a case of having to write off the weekend, or to take a more positive spin on it, get up into P15 and then hope that he can get the look of the draw with the reverse grid. This is Florian Harter, not looking particularly strong on this particular lap. Wouldn't be surprised if he comes into the pits, and that's exactly what he does, runs into the pit wall on the left hand side there as well, so that's a bit of a whack for that car. Thankfully, once you exit into the garage, you've got a brand new car, so he's not really going to worry about that. Effectively got a brand new car, I should say. Greg Patterson is here in 11th at the moment, looks for that final hairpin. I say final hairpin, that final heavy braking zone, and on a slight improvement from his 11th place at the moment.
You know, you could still call the 180 right after that a hairpin technically. Excuse me for not remembering the corner name, but yeah, those two sequences of corners are technically both hairpins, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they are technically, but I was more referring to the braking zone. I don't think you have to brake for turn 12.
That is true. You see Craig Patterson starting yet a new lap going into turn 3. It's a flat corner, just try to hug the inside as tight as possible. You can gain a few extra hundredths by doing that. Braking into turn 4. It's a very high speed through here, and then a downhill braking zone into turn 5, which is very prone to snapping the rear around. Craig manages to navigate that just fine into a high-speed, quick left and right chicane, you could call this, and it's still, again, looking quite tidy. Now we're on board with Luke Mitchell starting a lap, so let's take a lap on board with him. So first, heavy braking into turn 1 and 2. There's a very tricky line to sort of navigate and perfect, but again, it's all about these few millimeters that you can get into turn 3 as well. And then braking into turn 4, yeah, again, high speed corner, you can open the throttle very early, hug the inside if you possibly can, and now again the tricky braking zone down the hill. Luke Mitchell manages to navigate that without further issues, and now going into the fast left. Try and grab the apex if you can, but don't go over to the curbs on the outside, and it looks like this might be a lap that he's abandoned. Yes, it is.
It is, and Scott Mitchell, well, I think is just trying to rush back to the line to try and set one more lap. Luke Mitchell's 400th of a second, got there in the end, of his brother. So we'll see if Scott Mitchell can actually get to the line. He's got 5 seconds to do it. I think he'll just about make it. Just about, and he's going to. Oh no, he's taking the checker flag. So there you go. Scott Mitchell.
I think he's.
No, he's got it. You're right. The checker flag came out, but he didn't actually take line. Is the first one, isn't it? So there you go. Got away with one. Scott Mitchell, and can now just focus on getting this final lap in. Here he goes.
I think he's abandoned it. I think he did. Turn 1 and 2 was very, very twitchy, but he's got pole secured for him thus far, and Luke Mitchell can't do anything about that.
Neither can Cypher at the moment as well. He's in third at the moment, and looks like this lap is not really going to be the special one. Patrick Magnusson has gone up into fourth, so Cypher actually is going to come into the pits. So there you go. He's well and truly decided against trying to get this pole position on that final lap. Just lost too much time. Can Tom Ely jump up the order, perhaps up into the points? Here he goes into 12th. That is a very strong lap from Tom Ely at the death, and I'm sure he'll be very happy with that one. But I also think he's the last one to cross the line. We might have Bobby and Dan Hutt left, but I think other than that, these guys have all crossed the line and finished their laps.
Yeah, looks like it's Scott Morris still, according to the graphics at least, the time is still running. But yeah, I think these are the official quali results for Lion. Yeah, Scott Mitchell-Mom taking pole position for Barcelona. Looking very strong this time out. Roy Seifert as well, a strong showing from him in quali. And definitely a big qualifying for Patrick Magnusson, who's starting from the second row.
And we can get your results in just a moment's time, and we'll confirm with Jan Granqvist taking you through the results.
Yes, so pole position again for Scott Mitchell-Malm with Luke Mitchell starting alongside him. Roy Seifert in P3 with Patrick Magnusson in P4. Massimiliano Riboli taking P5 with Florian Haase in P6. Mikael Tuomala in P7 with Maxime Beaulieu in P8. And Noah Tuomala in P9 with Craig Patterson rounding off the top 10. In P11 we've got Seva Panasenko with Tom Ely starting behind him in P12. Bobby Vakinov in P13 with Jas Lahtinen in P14. Brody Lawless on his debut in P15. And Magnus Ockenhog starting from P16 with Dan Hutt in P17. Lucas Tulin in P18. Jack Nichols in P19 with Mateusz Pischan in P20. Luca Tizzano in P21 with Louis Hartley in P22, Davide Zanini in P23, Justin van der Smissen in P24 with Dominic Schlabon in P25, Jon Dix in P26 with Mihailo Vicentijevic in P27, in P28 Lanor Spinor in his debut as well, and Scott Morris P29 with Brandon Robert in P30. And Victor Cavillo taking the last spot of the grid.
Well, not setting a time either, Victor, so that will be frustrating for him, but he won't start last. That will be Roy Seifert with his 30-place grid penalty. Starts third, so would effectively start at 33rd. They'll just bump him up there and he'll go to the back of the grid. We'll be back in about 10 minutes' time. The warm-up session has exactly 10 minutes left, and we'll get race 1 underway in Formula Sprint 2. welcome back to GPVWC FS2. We're here for race 1 of the evening, 17 laps around the 4.655 kilometre circuit to Barcelona, Catalonia. GPVWC's first time on this new layout, the MotoGP, and now Formula 1 layouts of this circuit. I'm Tom Dillon, alongside me, as always, is Jan Granqvist. Although I say Jan, as always, we're round 7 of the season, and we seem to have only done 3 or 4 together. That is remarkable. From
that is how you do a 360.
I don't know. Oh, it's Matthews. There you go. That's why I signed it. And he got a podium. That annoyed me, by the way. The fact that I was in a couple of races, and the one race I wasn't, Matthews was there and got on the podium. Didn't even get to commentate on my team's first podium, but welcome along, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's yeah, that's a shame. But yeah, it's great to be back here, and yeah, I think we're in for a good one this time. We'll finally be able to see what that chicaneless section now does with the racing for these cars. So people are now lining up onto the grid so we can start our formation lap.
Yes, we will, and well, you can see telemetry at the bottom of the screen. That's not an intentional graphic, but we'll try and get that off the screen as soon as possible. There you go. No one saw anything. The inner workings of R-Factor 2, which, well, revealed to the world, waiting for the driver to get onto that formation lap, but make sure their setup is loaded. That is one rookie mistake that I'm sure we've all made a few times, where you... yes, well, let's wait for this formation lap to get underway. Yeah, who should pick for a winner today?
This is always such a hard question, but I'd like to go for Scott Mitchell, just because it's not Luke Mitchell. But yeah, that's who I'm rooting for today. He's now taken pole position, shown some strong pace.
Scott Mitchell Marm. To be honest with you, as we go to the grid, Mitchell Marm on pole position, Luke Mitchell in second, Patrick Magnussen in third, Massimiliano Rivoli in fourth. I'll get to my point in a moment, yeah? Take us through the rest of the grid.
Yeah, sure thing. Florian Haase in P5 with Mikael Tuomala in P6, Maxime Beaulieu in P7 with Noah Tuomala in P8. Craig Patterson takes P9 with Seb Panasenko in P10, with Tom Ely in P11 and Bobby Bakinoff in P12. Jesse Lahtinen starting from P13 with Magnus Ockenhog in P14, Dan Hood in P15, Hood Performance cars right after each other, with Lucas Tulin in P16, and Jack Nichols in P17 with Matheus Pischan in P18, Luca Tizzano in P19 with Louis Hartley in P20, Davide Zanini in P21 with Justin van der Smissen in P22, Dominic Schlabon P23 and Björn Dix in P24. Vanor Spinner in P25 with Mihailo Vicentievich in P26, Brandon Robert in P27 with Victor Cabello in P28. Ronnie Seifert and Scott Morris rounding up the grid.
Well, lost one. Ronnie Seifert starts in 29th, which is interesting. I don't think that was intended. He's out of position, but his fault. I'll ask you quickly, Jan, before we get to this race start. Where do you think Ronnie Seifert's going to get himself?
Well, that's going to be a hell of a climb, but I'll say it now. Top 10. Top 10 is always possible.
I think so too. I think we'll get 15th here, and I think maybe he'll just get himself into contention for that reverse grid pole. If he gets reverse grid pole, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't go on to win. Hearing that we've got music in the background, so hopefully that is fixed before we get this race starts underway. And no, according to chat anyway, but here we go. Waiting for the lights at Circuit de Catalunya. Got Mitchell Marm on his first pole position of the season. It's time, red lights. and it's lights out and away we go. Jump start in the back. It's a very good start for our third place car. Gets the better of Luke Mitchell down into turn 1, and in fact looks to take the lead as we go down into turn 1. That's Patrick Magnussen. He started 4th, never mind. 3rd, here he goes around the outside of Scott Mitchell-Marm down into turn 1 and takes the lead.
What a start.
First time in GPVWC FS2. There's someone in the background all the way off of the road. Patrick Magnussen though, spectacular start off of the line. Luke Mitchell falls down to 3rd. There's further battles going on. There's Michael Tuemala looking up to make a position. Craig Patterson trying to keep out of trouble, looking for P7 here down the inside. He goes, able to get up into that P7. Now attacks Michael Tuemala around the outside. Has to defend off the inside as well. There's not really much he can do there, but Jan Patrick Magnussen, that is one of the best starts I've ever seen.
Absolutely, that is incredible. And now he's got the job to keep Scott Mitchell-Marm and Luke Mitchell behind him. It's going to be tough, but he can absolutely do it. Now he just needs to keep his head down and head for the remaining 17 laps, while we see so many cars here trying to find lines even all the way up to the grass, and potentially looking to gain some few positions here at the start. It's a very hectic start with so many different lines you can take into the first few corners. And here we're seeing Magnus Okinow making a few positions up P12. His teammate up ahead of him. I know that his teammate is in P14. That is lap 1 done and dusted with Patrick Magnussen still in the lead. A big move on the straight.
Oh, and they're 4 wide. Further back, look at that, down into turn 1. It's down to this position 20. Actually, Davide Zanini not getting the better of it, pushing all the way onto the grass. That RNG car, I think it might be a Victor Cabello. I think it is in the blue. Davide around the outside as a reading game car looking to get involved in a brand new livery down the inside. Davide looking to thread the needle. My word, that is brave. Borderline stupid, actually, with the amount of cars going down into turn 3, but he's got away with it. Now finds himself under threat from that RNG car behind. It's Scott Morris trying to attack him. And in the end, they just stay line of stern for the time being. That's fantastic racing down into turn 1.
Absolutely, and here you see it. If you're not committed to that inside line towards a corner, you're already looking at almost 2 and 3 cars looking to potentially pounce on that opportunity and just send one down the inside. So you have to have the nerves of steel and just keep your head down and go for the racing line, and hope everyone else does not break out from that racing line around you.
Down into turn 1, Florian Hasser was looking at a move. Here goes Luke Mitchell on his brother down into turn 1. Brotherly love for the Mitchells, and it looks like Scott Mitchell-Marm is going to have better of that at the moment. He's able to just hold it around the outside. That outside line is so powerful here, but can Luke do anything? Down into turn 3, he's got his teammate behind, or I don't suspect will be pressurising our championship leader too much. Here's Noah Tuemela looking to get himself up into top 10. He won't be able to do anything into turn 3. It's a very nice top 10 for Lassinen at the moment. Here's Dan Huss looking to attack Matthews Pishkan as they go up into turn 5. Can he do anything about that? Matthews can, and he's able to hold on to 15th, 13th position for the time being.
Here we see Roy Seifert, P19, so he's already made up quite a few positions from the start, potentially getting up 10 positions in a matter of 4 laps. The yellows blink for a second there in sector 2, and Roy Seifert sending one down the inside. Almost thought there was going to be contact, but no, he seems to have made it clean. Now there's the second 180 of a corner, which he manages to grab the apex, and there we go. He's P19 now, so made up 10 positions from his original starting position.
And Roy out through that final quarter now, as you said, already up 11 positions, looking now ahead up to 18. He can see those points paying and reverse grid contention positions from a mile off. Here now down into turn 1, it's going to be 3 wide. John Dix getting involved on Dan Hutt. He makes contact and Dan has to take it. Escape mode, goes over the curb, gets a little bit of air and takes John Dix off of the racetrack, everyone having to go to driver's left to try and avoid the rejoining Redburn racing car of Bjorn Dix, and that is mightily frustrating. Redburn a team.
I don't want to say he deserved it, but that looked like Karma served within 2 corners of that incident where he just sent the nose down the inside, and there he goes into the wall.
Horrible couple of corners, and that in real life would be a very nasty crash for your Dix. Straight out into someone. Oh my word!
Do some. Yeah, that's not ideal. If anything. Yeah, that looks like a harsh penalty pending for Johan Dix for just a few sequences of corners, and yeah, that's not what you want to see in this series.
It's carnage as well. He's going to make a pass without a wink. Here we go then. Replay of that incident. In fact, replay of the start. Down into turn 1. Up to Panasenko. He's gone right into the car on the left-hand side of him, and then jumps over the sausage curb, which actually upsets the car, sends him right into the wall. Panasenko's race not quite over, but definitely looking a little bit bleak for the rest of it, and frustrating into race 2. 25th at the moment though, so it's not all doom and gloom for Seba Panasenko. So while we look further ahead to Jack Nichols, who's fallen to P30 in the order, looks to go into that chicane, gets all loose and gets tapped round as well. A little bit of help into the barrier for Jack Nichols.
Going slightly over the curb there, grabbing the grass, and that's all you need to go wide there. Yeah, that's not the line you want to be taking in Barcelona, unfortunately for him. It's a mistake that can happen to the best of us. You see it with Johan Dix's incident now. Here we get the replay. He sends one very riskily, clips the curb, clips Dan Hutt, and Dan Hutt can't do anything about that one. Sends both of them into the gravel trap there, but this isn't the end of his woes, as now we get into turn 4. Here's where it really goes all wrong for Johan. What actually happens? Oh, he tags someone to the left of him, which he didn't even see. It must have been in his blind spot. And yeah, that sent him all round into a gravel trap where we see this rejoin once again, which is definitely not an ideal sight. The eyes of the stewards.
No, that will be a very harsh penalty. If Roy was getting 30 places, I imagine that'll be something similar. Same amount of cars involved, realistically, and Jorn looks like he's come into the pits and retired from the race, as has Tom Ely, and by the looks of things, Lenore Spinor. So Spinor having a bit of trouble with that one, but he's out of the race, unfortunately, for the time being. Looks like Jack Nichols is as well. Change for second position as Luke Mitchell looks to go down the inside of his brother, who makes a slight mistake, and it's able to get to the position and can now chase after the man who is still leading this race in Patrick Magnusson. Mitchell Marm will have DRS on his brother though, and I'm not too sure his DRS will have the his brother will have the DRS on the car ahead. He will in the end. Massi Riboli looking for a move down into this turn 10 hairpin. No changes at full position just yet. This is going to be one that is won and lost on that straight, I think, as they apply the throttle for the final time on this lap 6 up through into turn 14. Can Scott Mitchell Marlon by extension of that Luke Mitchell make any forward progress down into turn 1? It's all about that final corner then. The DRS zone. Luke Mitchell gets a fairly decent run on Patrick Magnusson. Is he far enough back? He's not. In fact, he's had a pretty poor run, all things considered. Now it's going to be Mitchell Marm who looks to attack him as they go up into the braking zone for turn 1. They stay in line. They stay sensible for the time being. I don't think they'd want that awkward conversation. I'd say at dinner, but I imagine Scott Mitchell Marm and Luke Mitchell don't live together anymore. So it's a case of, oh dear, on the really game. God, oh my word.
No, that's a big crash just before turn 1. So that's hinting at potentially a pit exit incident, but we'll have to see more about that if we want to confirm for sure. But yeah, that's a strange place to have a crash.
Yeah, it really really is. And, well, we only caught the back end of it on our replay. It's Dominic Schlabon. Oh, dear. I can see
So
what's
it is.
happened here. He's lost it. I bet he's lost it on the DRS. You watch this. Down into turn 1. They go. Oh, no, the car was there, and he's just... Oh, he's turned across on him.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, dear.
Now I see. Yeah, that's not great for either of them. Front wing and rear wing lost. So yeah, that's fortunately that race done for Dominic Schlabon and
He's not going anywhere quickly. Oh, that's how we do it. So he just pulled out to the end of the pit lane and called it a day. Tom Ely. Patrick Magnussen still leads then, as we see in the background on the red bank car. So it's not the red bank car, it's Makar Mala looking to go up into P5, and that's exactly what he's done. Tucked back in, Luke Mitchell, and look at my word, there's a huge battle going on further behind. That's Magnus Ockenau, I think, trying to get down at the inside. No, it's Tuamelo and Bobby Ockenau, and he's gone down the inside and up into P8. They raced each other right to the line there, and almost Indy 500 style, if you watch that over the course of the last couple of weeks. It's a finally made move by Noah Tuamela. Now the Reedy game car of Matthews Pishkan is under pressure from Roy Seifert. Roy won't go to the inside on this occasion. He's going to have to wait to get up into P14. Already in reverse grid contention. Matthews shows him to that outside line, squeezes him. Now a dummy move for Roy Seifert. He can't quite get the legs on that inside line. Can he pull alongside on the throttle application? No, he's squeezing him. He's squeezing him massively, and Roy Seifert just can't find a way past. And I don't know whether I'm going to call this good defensive driving, a bit too aggressive, depending on whether it was my driver.
I'm not even sure if there was contact. There very well could have been. It was that close. But so far, that's exactly what Pishchan needs to keep Roy Seifert behind him. But I think Roy Seifert is on a very, very, very big charge here. He's definitely got the pace on those, even up in the top 3. So just waiting to see what will happen. We go into the main straight. Most likely Roy Seifert will get past Pishchan and will have the job of catching up to the rest of the pack.
Now Roy Seifert, I think we'll turn this into a bit of a formality. Matthews Pishkan will show him to the outside line, I guarantee. Oh, he's going to show him to the outside line, but Roy Seifert is going to say, you leave the inside open, and I'll take it all day long. Matthews trying to hold it around the outside, but eventually Roy just getting the better of the braking performance there, and that is him up 15 positions now into P14, into reverse grid contention. Now, it would be a bit harsh on him if reverse grid wasn't 14th position and he had to start all the way back in 14th.
But remember, there's still 8 more laps to this race, so anything could happen. It's still we're just a bit past halfway, so it's yeah, too early to call anything yet.
Yeah, only race 1 and 2 as well. But Patrick Magnussen still leads this one then from Luke Mitchell, and he leads it quite comfortably. I think overtaking the circuit is a little bit difficult. Obviously, they haven't proved in these Formula 3 style cars. As onto the grass goes massive Raboni. This will allow Makar Tuamala to have a look at him down the straight. He definitely won't go for it into turn 14. He's going to wait for the DRS. I think Massey might have just dropped out of DRS of Scott Mitchell Farm. We'll wait to see if that rear wing opens. It won't. This is going to be a formality for Makar Tuamala down into turn 1. There he goes. Should get the better of it. Luke Mitchell goes to the lead of the race. It's going to be a dive from Luke Mitchell. Can he get it on Patrick Magnussen? We'll wait to see as our cameras desperately try and cut to it, and the answer is no. Patrick holds on to it for the time being.
Yeah, that turn 1 is absolutely vital because you need to make the move before turn 3. As soon as you reach turn 3, if you've got the dirty air of the car in front, you're going to lose time, and there's no way you're going to make it past after that. So you really need to plan your overtakes carefully here, and Patrick Magnussen is doing absolutely the best job that he can do to keep the Mitchells behind him at the moment.
The tyres are so difficult around this circuit. I think maybe we're getting this sense that there's not a lot of grip underneath Patrick Magnussen at the moment. Can he get overtaken down into turn 10? It's going to be 3 wide action almost. Luke Mitchell looks for a dive. Patrick holding it on the outside. Luke Mitchell running him all the way out to the AstroTurf on the right hand side. Magnussen trying to hold it off, but Luke Mitchell just got the better grip. Can he get ahead onto the curve? Luke Mitchell wide, hugely wide, and they make contact. But Magnussen Magnussen holds onto it now. They switch to the DRS zone. Can Luke Mitchell get the better of the exit out of turn 14, or is your race leader to stay as a race leader? Back out to Amala, looking for the podium as well as they go down into turn 1, not quite able to get the better of the straight line speed. Maybe looks to the outside of Scott Mitchell. There you go, down into turn 1. Luke Mitchell on Patrick and Magnussen holding it still around the outside, all the way wide onto the curve.
Oh no!
Oh my word! That is huge accident and heartbreak for Patrick Magnussen, who did so well in this race. All turns to dust.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate, and I just have to say that curb hop was very strange. I don't think that's exactly what planned to happen to these cars is if you go over them. It looked a tad aggressive.
I think those curves are designed for the Super League cars, you know, and it's the same thing as in real life. Those sausage curves just absolutely far too aggressive, and well, I mean, it gets to the point where I doubt it happened, but I'd even be looking at that and questioning, do we take out those sausage curves heading into the FS1 race on Thursday?
To be honest, that is a very good thing to bring up now.
Oh dear, into the wall. Deary me, he's able to hold it, I think, and that's Luca Thailand just
still got front wing.
Bit of a oh, he's on the wrong layout now, and takes the chicane. Lovely. Luca Thailand. He'll get overtaken here, though, swallowed up completely. Let's have a replay, I assume, of what happened.
Oh, and there's a big.
Live pictures, I can't tell. These are live pictures, so that was Florian Hasse. And oh dear, that's going to be a difficult time for him to get back. Attritional race.
That must have been, again, losing it on DRS. There must have been a moment of a battle on the straight. And again, just before the cameras got off there was more going to happen in turn 4. It's so much happening in the midway point of the race. There you see Florian Hasse pulling out of the DRS, and it's just too aggressive, just way too aggressive. He loses the rear of the car, and that's where the car wanted to end up.
At the end of the day as well, we've seen far too many cars losing it on the straight. That, I mean, that is a nasty crash, and yeah, if DRS shouldn't be removing that much drag. It was, well, obviously Florian Hasse's fault, but you do have to feel for him. It's been something, the quirk of these cars for many years. Right, so let's take stock after, oh, sorry, Dan, I'll get to your point in a moment, but let's take stock of where we are with Luke Mitchell in the lead of the race after Patrick Magnussen's aerobatics into turn 2. Now to Amala, 1.5 seconds behind. Masi Riboli looking to get his podium route ended. Not on the podium since round 2 in Bahrain, but looking very good here. He's going to look for Amala, and he won't quite find it on this occasion.
Yeah, so what I was going to say there before is that these cars, so the DRS and the sketchiness on the straight is very car dependent, and it just so happens that these Formula Sprint 2 cars prefer a very front heavy aero setup. So essentially the aero balance will be leaning heavily towards the front, and that's what you then see on the straight is once you lose all of the downforce with the rear wing, all you're left with is a very aggressive front wing, and you can guess what happens as soon as you turn the wheel. So it's just sort of unfortunate that it happens to be with these cars.
And onto the grass, that was Justin van der Smissen. He's, can I say the grass, it's gravel and AstroTurf on the inside of that corner. And oh dear, he's very wide again. He's able to hold it. The track limits are decided by the game here, so if he is, if he's not been given track limit points by our factor 2, he'll get away with that slight extension. Lap 13 of 17, 5 laps to go in this one. Matthews Pishkan, by the way, in my interest, has gone up into 10th position. That is onto the grass from Justin van der Smissen. And again, the gravel, I should say, the red Ben car now of Roy Seifert is looking to attack him into 8th maybe for Roy Seifert as they go down into turn 1 for the 15th time in this race, the 14th time in this race, I should say, as they cross the line. Massimiliano Riboli has got past Macau to O'Mara. Roy Seifert really eyeing up this move though, and in fact, they're looking very racy further forward in the pack. It's Noah Tuamela looking to avenge his teammate here as they go down into turn 3. He won't quite get the move made there. Macau Tuamala now has to turn his sights behind and looking at defending off this podium. This would be the first Alpha Sierra 1-2 of the season, by the way, if it were to stay as it is right now, with Luke Mitchell and Massi Raboli in the first and second spots. We'll see if any moves are made here with Noah Tuamela.
Yeah, that was an interesting stat actually. Alpha Sierra. I was definitely thinking that they were going to score some earlier on in this season, but here we are now. They've got their biggest chance yet on their hands, but Miguel Tuamala is still hunting them down with 4 more laps to go. And let me just say, this is quite an incredible rise to the top 10 from Roy Seifert, I have to say. Already in P9 and eyeing out to get P7 potentially from Magnus Aukenhog and then Justin Manders-Nissen. That is a crazy jump from where he started.
And the best bit about it, it seems like he's only had to actually make 3 on-track overtakes because so many people have tripped over themselves behind him. But no, his pace has been superb. Roy Seifert in this one. Tuamala is suddenly dropping the guys behind him. And we'll see if down into turn 1, Roy Seifert can look at Magnus Aukenhog. He's unable to do so on that occasion, so waits for the opportunity to present itself, as you so often have to. Out of turn 2 they go then. Seifert getting a little bit of a touch actually through there, and Magnus Aukenhog now goes to the inside line. Should make this move fairly comfortably, you would think, unless Aukenhog can break around the outside. Seifert is so...
Aukenhog's tyres are completely gone.
Yeah, I think they are, and I think at this stage in the race that might just be what's causing all of these problems. I think Patrick's tyres went as well, you know, Jan. I think that's why he was so slow in the latter stages of this race. We know the tyre wear is so aggressive around this circuit, and I think that is exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah, definitely. It's now just a game of who's been preserving more, and for those who have, they still have a little bit of extra to push here in the last 3 laps. This could be the deciding moments for some of the people here in the top 5. This is quite a tight battle actually going on for P2. If you look at it, it's P2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I think. All battling for P2 at the moment. Slight disconnect from Tom Dillon, but here we go. Tuamala still keeping the lead. Oh, and there's a bit of a slide coming from Craig Patterson, but manages to keep it underneath him, and still we've got Tuamala. Tuamala's made the move. Sorry, I completely missed that. So Tuamala's made the move into P2 with Massi in P3 currently, and Craig Patterson sliding in turn 1 and 2, but managing to keep that in control. But these positions could change all the time now. It's the last 2 laps of the race, and this is where people are absolutely going to give it everything so that they can get at least a podium, and if not a P2.
Yeah, absolutely, and I clicked on a team's voice channel there accidentally, so embarrassing moment from me, but look at MacArthur and Marlon's defence here on Massi Raboli as see further behind Noah Tuamela looking at Craig Patterson. He's not able to make that move on that occasion. Good drive from Craig at the moment, quietly up into P4. Tuamala then has got 1 chance to hold off Massimiliano Raboli. Massi has got 1 chance to make it the first Alpha Sierra 1-2 of the season. On to the final lap of the Spanish Grand Prix then in FS2, the first of our 2 races, and Tuamala just makes a slight mistake out that final corner. Here goes the snake then as Tuamala looks to defend, weave across the circuit. We know the back, the front heavy downforce.
Tuamala's about to make a move here. He's going to be pushed onto the grass.
Around the outside of Craig Patterson, he's not quite able to find it on that occasion. That might just be all she wrote for him. A couple more opportunities though if he can get the performance out of turn 2 and up into turn 3. He won't. Patterson is able to hold on to that position. Tuamala is holding on wonderfully as well, and Patterson is actually setting his sights on an unlikely podium, Jan.
Yeah, it's so close between Riboli and Patson. Patson just eyeing out a move, but also probably in half defense from Noah Tuomela, who's also looking very feisty now on the final lap. This could change all towards the final few corners. This is absolutely where people will be sending it, into the double hairpins. Now we will see with DRS open what is going to happen. Are people going to keep their positions, or are they going to send it in one more desperate maneuver? It looks like the drivers are navigating it safely and potentially setting up for a better race too.
Drag race to the line potentially. Here we go through the final corner. Someone's in all sorts of strife on the right hand side, but Luke Mitchell is able to get himself onto the top step of a podium. It's fantastic for Luke Mitchell. Won race 1 in Germany, wins race 1 in Spain, and as they cross the line, it's Tuomela who gets that second spot. Massimiliano Riboli ahead of Craig Patterson into third. A fantastic little scrap between everyone here in what has ultimately been a very attritional, a very messy race from most concerned. Here's Scott Morris crossing the line into 14th. Bilu will round out the points and reverse grid contention. Good drive, by the way, from Matthews Pishkan up into 12th position. He had no qualifying pace. Race pace proving to get the better, however. Well, Jan, I think we'll have our results in just a moment's time.
Yeah, and just a little shout out to my fellow countrymen there. Tuomela with the great P2 and Tuomela with the P5 in that same battle. Incredible to watch all the way to the end, and so we can now wait and see Great Eastern results.
And we just wait.
Still a couple of drivers yet to cross the line, so we'll just wait for those. And yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Tom?
Well, I definitely think the curbs need to be changed before we go racing gear again. Whether they can get that done for FS1, I should say, it will affect the FS1 cars. It shouldn't affect our Super League lights and Super League guys, because obviously those cars are bigger, and just like in real life, the curbs shouldn't be as aggressive on those bigger cars. But especially for these junior categories, it's borderline. Well, I say dangerous in the sense of dangerous to someone's race. Obviously, there's no health concerns in the world of sim racing.
Yeah, that's a very fair point, but here we have the race results with Luke Mitchell taking P1 with Mika Tuomala with P2 and Massimiliano Riboli rounding off the podium, the two Alpha Sierras making it up to the top 3. Craig Patterson in P4 with Noah Tuomala in P5, Bobby Vakinov in P6 with Justin van der Smissen in P7, Roy Seifert with the incredible climb in P8, and Magnus Ockenhaug also with a decent climb up to P9 with Jassa Lahtinen rounding off the top 10. Lucas Thulin in P11 with Mateusz Piszczan in P12, Davide Zanini in P13 with Scott Morris in P14, Maxime Bolu in P15, Mihailo Vicentievich in P16, Sev Panasenko P17, and Luca Tiziano in 18th with Florian Haase in P19 with Patrikur Magnusson in a disappointing 20th after such a strong showing from him. Louis Hartley in P21 with Scott Mitchell-Malm in P22, another unfortunate driver taking part in that incident with Patrikur. Dan Hood in P23, Brandon Robert in P24 with Victor Cabello the last of the finishers. Dominic Schlabon, Tom Ely, Jörn Dix, Lanner Spinor, Jack Nichols, all classified as DNFs.
And well, we'll be back in about 5 minutes' time for race 2 from the Circuit to Catalonia.
Attention grid, will all non-essential personnel leave the grid now?
Welcome back to FS2, everybody, and well, I giggle because producer Vincent didn't expect us to be on that screen and used choice words to express his his excitement at that revelation. But I'm Tom Dillon, and Jan Granqvist is alongside me once again. Chaos in race 1, Jan. Chaos surely following suit in race 2.
Oh yeah, to be honest, I don't expect the drivers to have learned anything else except to not touch the sausage curbs into turn 1. But other than that, I'm fully expecting just as much of side-by-side action as we saw in race 1.
And, well, I can tell you that Lenore, by the way, had a wheel disconnect in that previous race and now is hopefully back into the lobby completely now. So, Jesse Latinen is on, Jesse Latinen, I should say, is on pole position for this one. Roy Seifert starts 3rd. So that is one to keep an eye on for sure. And we're ready to get this formation lap underway. And we will, well, yeah, we will take you through your order.
Yes, so here we go with race 2, pole position with Jesse Lahtinen in P1, Magnus Aukenhaug starting alongside him in row 1 in P2, Roy Seifert in the second row in P3 with Justin van der Smissen in P4, Bobby Vakinov in P5, Noah Tuomala starting in 6th with Craig Patson in 7th and Massimiliano Uriboli in P8. Mikael Tuomala in P9 with race winner Luke Mitchell in P10. Lucas Thurlin in P11 with Matheus Christian in P12. Davide Zanini in P13 with Scott Morris in P14. Maxime Berlu in P15 with Mihailo Vicentievich in P16. Seb Panasenko starts in P17 with Luca Tisano in 18th, Florian Haase in P19 with Patreku Magnusson in P20. Louis Hartley in P21 with Scott Mitchell-Mom in P22, Dan Hood in P23 with Brandon Roberts in P24. Victor Cabello starts in P25 with Dominic Schlabon in P26, Tom Ely in P27 with Björn Dix in P28. Lanor Spinor in P29 with Jack Nichols in P30 with last place taking Brody Wallace.
So many puns to be made about that name. But I'm going to try and not make those puns. So yeah, predictions quickly. I'm going to go Roy Seifert getting the win here, and I think it'd be difficult to look past him. You agree?
To be honest, after looking at qualifying performances, yeah, he definitely seems like the strongest candidate for it, and I'm fully with you on that. But I think we saw Noah Tuomala's dad even supporting his
child,
his son racing. Oh, his child. Sorry.
Yes.
So I've got them mixed up. Sorry. So Noah Tuomala in P6 with his child supporting him in this chat, so that's obviously very, very nice to see.
Oh, sorry, acceptable for dad. It is his dad, yes. Okay.
Oh, so yes, I was thinking it'd be a bit odd, but we go with the lights turning on.
But, well, ready to get race 2 underway then. And it's lights out and away we go for race 2 in Spain. It's a very good start from pole sitter Jesse Latinen. It's a very good start from Roy Seifert as well, up into second position immediately. Before we even get to turn 1 of the braking zone, everyone trying to get into a rhythm now. Down into turn 1 they go, holding on to the lead is the Academy car, but Roy Seifert is looking very racy indeed, as now he's trying to push, I imagine, along if he can. Massimiliano Rivoli and Luke Mitchell making up positions together. Here's Mikael Tuomala under a little bit of pressure. You can see further ahead a couple of changes of position being made. Tuomala pulling out to the inside, someone almost onto the grass in the top of your picture, but now as there's contact, I think, and is everyone around safely? No, they're not, and that's going to be a nasty crash. If people don't get around, it's a red King's Racing car, I should say, onto the grass for a moment. Seba Panasenko is getting caught up, and, well, my goodness me.
I'm sorry, am I seeing this right? Brody Wallace has made it from last position all the way to 23rd already.
Parting the seas, isn't he? And that is a fantastic start from him. That's making more positions. 22nd, Brody Wallace.
Oh, there's more to come. jump in this straight. It's potentially 21st. Okay, he sensibly backs out of that one. He saw the opportunity to make it 4 wide, but there we go. He's gained yet another position. That is incredible.
Some would even call it illegal. After that incredible start into the final corner he goes. And trying to get himself into the top 20. Fantastic drive, and now the points surely will be what will suffice for him. Now he looks for P20. Cody Lawless on an incredible couple of laps. That's probably lap of the season, I would say, at the moment.
I would agree with that one.
He's going to look for 2 here, you know. Trying to thread the needle, looks around the outside, now into the inside maybe, just trying to find the space around the outside.
What?
20th position for Brody Lawless. Now looking for 19.
Oh my goodness, he's going on the inside. He's driving for his life. This is incredible. Incredible scene from Brody Lawless. Look at that. Getting up into P19. Now he just needs to make it around the outside of turn 5. Can he do it? I think he's just going to have to stay behind. But look, he's already eyeing out the next move onto the next corner. He's to the inside, which is in favour of him. And he's made it into P19 in a span of 1.5 laps. That is absolutely incredible.
He woke up, definitely, Brody Lawless in this race after not taking to the grid in race 1. There's a move further behind. That's one of the Red Fen cars. It's your Dix who crashed out of that first race, not able to get a position up. I don't think though. It's Melon now is in.
Very captivating by Brody Lawless. Even looking at the front, that's correct.
Absolutely, and Tuamela now looking for 5th position as Lattinen actually sets the fastest lap of the race. No DRS just yet. DRS will be enabled on this lap. Can Tuamala get through without the DRS? And the answer, I think, might just be yes. Here we go down into turn 1. He's still got a lot to do, and that's fantastic braking from Bobby Vakanov to get ahead of him. But now Tuamela with a fantastic exit. Can he get around the outside of turn 3? He won't be able to. Turn 4, his next best opportunity, then gets to the inside very early, gets cut off by Bobby Vakanov, and now around the outside, Tuamela Vakanov defends very staunchly indeed.
Definitely, again, a lot of side-by-side action as we predicted already, and it's interestingly, Luke Mitchell, Massey are now back-to-back in P8 and P9. Mikael Dormala is now dropped to P10, but still, the top few runners have not been able to make as many positions as some of the people in the back. But yeah, let's see. Briefly, I think that would have been. I've completely missed that, but yeah, a few cars going out the track, but managing to keep it in a straight line thus far, and rejoining back to the lead. Back to the lead. This is Noah Tuomala still in P6, eyeing out. Move potentially make on backing off as DRS opens on this lap.
Open on this lap, and Tuamela will fancy his chances here. I think Seifert might fancy his chances down into turn 1. You can see they're looking for that move, but I don't think he's going to get it. It will be Tuamela who is really in the best position. Here he goes around the outside. Vakanov shows him the outside, and again Vakanov just gets the better of the braking performance. Goes slightly deep. Tuamela is going to try and get a swoop on him. He goes for the switchback indeed. It's not really a planned switchback. It was just Vakanov going that deep, and now he's going to have to show him the outside once more. There's another car getting involved. It's Craig Patterson just behind. Here goes Tuamela around the outside then, and Bobby Vakanov has to go the long way round. It's going to get shoved all the way out to that curb, and has the inside now for turn 6. Still trying to get that move. Patterson will look to follow him through if at all possible.
That's
still
it.
side by side with Bobby Vakanov. It's not just yet, they still make contact. Bang, wheels down into turn 7 and turn 8, and Tuamela eventually up into 5th.
After some fierce fighting, we finally see Noah Tuomala making his way up into the top 5, and now he'll have the job to catch Justin van der Smissen, who's ahead of him, and he'll surely not be wanting to look too much back, as there's a hungry field right behind him trying to do just the same. Oh no, that's terrible news. I was actually rooting for him. I was
It's a brief cameo, unfortunately, but dear me. That's frustrating. Here's Craig Patterson now looking to attack Bobby backing up down into turn 1. This might just be a little bit more of a formality than before. Luke Mitchell, meanwhile, looks to go ahead of Massi Raboli. He's going down the inside, and Raboli just about holding it on. The Alpha Sierra teammates won't be wanting to trip over each other if at all possible. But still, line of stern at the front of our pack here as Jesse Latinen is ahead of Roy Seifert. Still, here is a replay then. I imagine this might be what happened to Lawless, and he goes round.
Yeah, he's most likely tagged that. When he's gotten tagged from behind with faster traffic moving, obviously not having enough time to react to that, and that's an unfortunate end to his climb. There's some aggressive defending there from. I'm sorry, I think that might have been Luca Tizzano. I believe. Yeah, Luca Tizzano getting tagged there with Brody Lawless. I think that might get looked at from the stewards, not sure. But yeah, not ideal for either of their races.
Is Jack Nichols around the outside? What happened here all the way? Oh, Dick gets tapped around, and Jack actually held on to it. It was he's going to wait up to let the car through. That's very fair play from Jack Nichols. Well, the car didn't go through in the end, so Jack is really stuck in between a rock and a hard place, actually. Just waiting up for no one. Here goes the move, the lead of the race then. Is it? No, it's Ockenhaug looking for Roy Seifert. I didn't even think Roy would get overtaken here, and he's just about able to hold on to that position. He must have made a mistake, because now Latinen has got a 1.2 second lead on his debut in the series. Here's Justin van der Smissen looking to pick up the pieces of Magnus Ockenhaug's failed move. Can he get through into turn 3? I don't think he can.
What I think is happening is that Roy Seifert could very well also be saving his tyres, as these people now very well know that at the end of the race, if you've cooked your tyres for 10 and more laps, you're going to be facing some backlash from them in the final closing lap, so you don't want that to happen. You really need to be doing your best not to use up all in your arsenal while you're driving the first few laps. Although now it is already lap 6, so we'll see what will happen as we progress throughout this race. But Roy Seifert again, 1.2 behind the leader, and there's a big crash. There's an absolutely huge impact with the wall there, and the car spinning in the straight, and people having to guess which way to go, and that's I don't know what to say about that. That was a very impact, most likely caused by someone riding over the exit curb of that fast right-hander. We'll now likely see a replay of that. Yeah, it's Patrick Magnusson, and as I am expecting...
Oh, there you go. Van der Smissen got around, I think.
And I see he was avoiding those who've made a mistake, and that's just very tough luck.
Oh, it's so bad a mistake.
Been a very unlucky race for Patrick.
Yeah, it was a VMS Sonetics car. It wasn't Van der Smissen, it was his teammates, and that is on the curb awkward. And I mean, he hasn't held the brakes there, which is a bit of a concern. I don't think he held the brakes. His tyres didn't lock up, and oh dear. I mean, it's just one of those, isn't it, Jan? It's turning into a slightly farcical event in terms of the amount of crashes we've seen. Not to say it's in itself a farce, it's just the drivers seem to be getting caught in all sorts of bother, and that just happens sometimes. And Patrick Kerr, I mean, when a car spits out on the road like that, there's nothing you can do. And I mean, what can this guy do right in this race? I mean, it's unbelievable. It's twice through pretty much no fault of his own that he's had major accidents.
Yeah, very unlucky. Very tough weekend. Unfortunate, but now we have to look forward into the race. It looks like Roy Seifert has caught up back into the DRS of Jesse Latinen, but here we have an even closer battle between, I believe, this might be Craig Patterson eyeing a move on Magnus Ockenhaug, and there he goes. He dives it down the inside of turn 1. Magnus trying to set up something potentially into turn 2, but just gets a little bit short. And, yeah, that is now Craig Patterson up to P5.
Down the inside goes Luke Mitchell, gets ahead of Bobby Buckenham and up into 7th position, looking to make his weekend just that little bit nicer in this one to supplement that race victory. 4/10 a second, by the way, between on-track race leaders. So Roy Seifert is really looking good for his second win of the season if he is able to just catch up that little bit more with that DRS. Luke Mitchell still looking for progress in a positive direction. Magnus Ockenhaug is his next target, and down into turn 10. I don't suspect it'll be his target on this occasion, as Ockenhaug actually is looking further forward. It's Greg Patterson, I should say. And, no moves just yet. About halfway through this race, Jan, halfway through the race then, as we switch, I think, over to the battle for the lead. I'll hand over to you in a second, because I just want to see how this develops. We might well be seeing a change for the lead. Latin has held on for 8 laps. Is the 9th going to be one too many for him? Here goes Roy Seifert, DRS ablaze down into turn 1. He's not going to have the straight line speed on this occasion, I don't think, but he'll definitely catch up a fair watch as they go down into the first braking zone. Here's Luke Mitchell, goes for a very late move on Magnus Ockenhaug and is going to get that position almost certainly now. That's a great dive bomb from Luke Mitchell, a perfectly fair dive bomb, and one that he has made very well indeed.
Yeah, that'll be frustrating for Magnus seeing a second car do the exact same on him with the lap right after. But here we go, almost 3 cars wide there going into turn 3. It's Tom Ely with Seba Panasenko and Dan Hutt all in one place at the same time. Just about keeping it clean so far. Tom Ely having some contact with Seba Panasenko, but now switches to the outside. What will it be into the next section of the track? He can't find a way outside of the... Oh no, and he's made contact, and they've now gone wide. And there goes Tom Ely. Yeah, again, a bit further down back, but he's still hunting down some Panasenko there, I believe.
Oh, no one in the background, someone spun around, and dearie me, it happens again. And
cars battling around completely cut the train of thought that I had. Was the point I was going to make.
The move for the lead. I'll get back to it in a moment. I just it would be wrong to miss this. Here goes Roy Seifert looking around the outside. There's a move further back. It's Turamella looking at Justin Van der Smith, and Seifert goes around the outside. There's slight contact between the two of them, but Roy Seifert ultimately is into the lead of the race. Turamella is still into that 3rd position, just about gets ahead of Justin Van der Smith, and Van der Smith will look to come back at him down into turn 3. Can he get the braking around the outside? He can't. Turamella holds onto it very nicely indeed, but he's not over just yet, actually. Has to defend down into turn 5 it is. But, well, in the end, he's able to get up into that 3rd. Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, in the meanwhile, there's been a battle happening with Riboli, Vakinov, and Beaulieu. I was going to make the point that the leaders of last race have been making very slow progress into this top 10. Basically, Riboli has not made up positions with Warmala only being able to get up into P8 right behind Magnus Ockenhaug. So these two have not been able to progress as much as they probably would have wanted. Luke Mitchell, on the other hand, has made a few more positions, but again, only P6, hasn't been able to get even into the top 5 while we're already at lap 10.
Just finish for Roy Seifert with that lead of the race. He's had fantastic pace all day long, and was in the top 3, wasn't he? Here's Craig Patterson looking at Justin Van der Smissen, and further back there is a move from Makal Turamala on Magnus Ockenhaug, and Turamala is through into turn 1. Just saw that flash up on the timing screen. Ockenhaug will again try and come back at him, but I don't think it's going to be worth much down into turn 3. I think Turamala is going to get the better of that one. Seifert now turns his attention to trying to further accelerate into the lead of this race. Luke Mitchell is in 6th, so he's not really a concern. So this is now, Jan, Roy's to lose.
Absolutely is. So now you don't want to look back. You just want to keep that DRS gap, the cars behind you, so that there's a little bit of buffer between anyone who threatens your lead. But I'm sure Roy Seifert has all of that in the back of his mind. Meanwhile, the number 1 one thing you want to be concentrating now if you've got clean air is how you can save these tires towards the end. As we see a move into the hairpin, that is Mitchell on Craig Patterson. So he's now got himself into the top 5. We'll now see how well he can progress up through. I think it's only Justin van der Smissen and Noah Dumoulin left, and he'll be on a double podium for this weekend already.
Well, frankly, I think Mitchell is making it look like he's lapping GT3 cars. He's been that fast in this race, and a podium perhaps is forthcoming. Jasse Lattinen is under pressure, but so is Bobby Vakanov, and the other Alfa Sierra car is Massi Riboli looking around the outside. Vakanov is going to get the better of the position, and now a chance for Maxime Bilo around the outside to knock Massi out of the top 10 after his podium finish in race 1. Can it be the move for Bilo? I think it can be, you know. And, he's still on the inside. Can he get through ahead of Massi? Almost. Massi's on the inside again. And Bilu just not able to get that position. Around the outside he goes though. Gets a really good run around onto the curb. Now looking up into the chicane of 7 and 8 and just about run out of room.
There's been some really great battling through those sequences of corners. That whole first sector into a bit of the second sector is very open to interpret with your lines. So you can take whatever entry you want into the corners, but you'll still be able to make it through with just about the same times as anyone else. It's yeah, very racy part of the circuit, especially with these Formula Sprint cars.
5 laps to go is the call. Luke Mitchell looking at Craig Patterson as Tuomela is looking at Jasse Lattinen down into turn 1. Neither of them will be able to make it. Though in fact Luke's going to go for it. Of course Luke is going to go for it down into turn 1, and he's not quite going to be able to find it. Justin van der Smissen now on Magnus Okkelhaug up into 7th position. Magnus under pressure from Bobby now, and Bobby under pressure from Massi Riboli. So it's all a little bit of a train at the moment, a trolley train, as they go up into turn 4 for the 13th time in this race. Of course, for the 26th time as the tyres are starting to wear away.
Yeah, I think Justin van der Smissen and Magnus Okkenhaug here are sort of falling in tandem with their pace throughout this race. And it's very much looking like these two are now holding up the small pack of cars that's behind them, and this could mean everything now to Massi Riboli. He'll definitely want to be making up at least a few positions after from where he started from, and same could be said for actually no, so Vakinov, Riboli, Bolu, those three are battling now for position, and it'll be critical how they can get past Magnus and
13 of 17 then will be 14 as we cross the line. Tuomela really has a chance at Lattinen on this lap, but Lattinen's still just keeping in DRS of Roy Seifert. Even if he isn't faster than him, it's helping him defend from Tuomela, and psychologically gives him something to focus on that isn't the car directly behind him, which could be so valuable for a driver. Here goes Luke Mitchell down the inside into turn 1. Patterson again is defending on that outside line, is able to defend very well. Riboli under pressure from Bilu. Riboli onto the curb, maybe. No, he just avoids it, and he avoids what would have been a spectacular crash. Mitchell Mom slides it up the inside, and that is probably top 10 contention out from Massi Riboli, because Scott Mitchell Mom is very fast indeed. He's got to get back fast very quickly, and he can't.
It's quite an unlikely drop almost in my mind that's happened to Massimiliano Riboli here. I was definitely thinking he'd make at least a few positions up into the top 10, but it looks like he's done quite the opposite now. He's fallen down to P12. Let's not count them out just yet, as there's still 4 more laps to go, and this is your top 3 right now on your screen. It's Roy Seifert, Jasse Lattinen and Noah Tuomela, and Jasse Lattinen critically is still within DRS of Roy Seifert, so anything could happen, and Jasse Lattinen does have that DRS held just so he can defend a bit better from Noah Tuomela. So these positions are now going to be very heavily fought. But we saw Noah Tuomela there going very wide and skateboarding across those, I don't know, sausage curbs, they're not really sausage curbs, but either way, curbs which will slow you down massively onto the straight, so that's not going to help him at all with him looking to get P2 from Jesse Lahtinen. And this is now Luke Mitchell, who's gone past Craig Patterson, so now Luke Mitchell is all free to hunt the top 4. Well, no, sorry, the top 3. So Luke Mitchell is now free to hunt a podium for himself, and it's 3 more laps to go, and the gap is just about 2 seconds to the cars ahead.
2.5 laps to go, really, not quite 3 technically, so 2.5 as we meander to a finish here in Catalonia. It wouldn't be a meandering for Luke Mitchell, who's got his sights on that podium after having got past Craig Patterson on the previous lap. It would be, well, one of his plenty double podiums this year. He did the double in San Marino. He got a double podium in Germany. In fact, that was only his second double podium of the year, so I stand corrected. But it just goes to show with his 95-point lead how much better he has been than the rest of this field. Lahtinen is under pressure from Tuomela as well, as they'll go onto lap 16, to the point that actually I think that could be a move and obviously play into the hands of Luke Mitchell if they were properly concerned about race management here. You'd say perhaps Tuomela and Lahtinen are going to stay line of stern, but I don't suppose that is going to happen. Here we go down into turn 1, 4th second position. Tuomela looks around the outside. P4 is acceptable for Dad, said Tuomela's dad in the chat.
Oh,
and,
no, Jasper's mate gone very wrong.
And, well, he's out of a podium contention. That is frustrating for Lahtinen. And just to finish my point on that, P4 was acceptable for Tuomela's dad. I suppose P2 is going to be fantastic for him. This is carnage, though.
He's absolutely dropped into the most busiest part of the circuit now, which isn't really ideal for him, but he still managed to keep his nose straight. And I think that's Bolu, who's just lost the rear end a little bit there and manages to rejoin onto the track safely. But he's now at the back of that big pack of cars we've just seen go through.
Feel for him so badly because it was so unlucky. And well, yes, who led a lot of this race is now unfortunately well and truly out of the contention. About to enter the final lap. It looks like it is going to be Roy Seifert who gets the win here, but still 4.6 kilometers of racing to go.
Sort of rooting for Jesse there as they were both hunting for a podium. I felt like yeah, that was unfortunate for Jesse. But here we see now, going on to the final lap, is this Magnus Ockenhag making a move on Justin van der Smissen. Into turn 1 they go. Magnus late on the brakes and he's able to make it. And there we go. He's now to the inside of turn 3. Justin having to follow into the dirty air or make it wide, and Magnus has a little twitch there. Probably scares both of them. Both of them probably needing a new pair of underwear after that one, but Magnus manages to keep it straight and now has the job of defending for one more lap from Justin.
And he'll be happy with his P6 as well, but Justin van der Smissen is going to run him right up to the line, you would expect. As further behind, it's got Mitchell Marm looking for 9th position on by the looks of things. Bobby Vakinov has had a very, very exciting race himself today, but no doing for them just yet. They go down into the back straight for the final time of the evening of the event. We see if there's any further moves to be made. Down into turn 10 they go, then it's Magnus Ockenhag at the head of the train. Scott Mitchell Marm thinks about a move, Bobby thinks about a move, but in the end, Lahtinen holds on to 8th, and everyone stays in the same position. Here he is then, Roy Seifert, 30th place grid penalty, got himself up into decent reverse grid position in the first race and wins in the second. Fantastic drive from Roy Seifert. Tuomela into second position. Luke Mitchell recovers to 3rd. That is fantastic. And well, as we see everyone else filter across the line, P10 for Scott Mitchell, Mark Massimiliano Rivoli into 11th. A decent drive for Matthews Pishkan into 14th. And Jan, fantastic racing at Catalonia and a fair bit of carnage as well for our troubles.
Yeah, but I've got to say this race 2 was definitely a lot better in terms of that. I think the drivers were able to keep their patience this time around and not go just quite as silly as they were in the race one. And this time we got to see some actual good racing towards the end of this. That pack of cars that finished there, I think Magnus Okkenog Justin leading that pack was very awesome to see. And yeah, unfortunate though for Jesse Lahtinen having to lose so many positions on the final few laps of the race. But yeah, overall, that was very entertaining to watch.
Yes, it certainly was, and well, we'll get your results for you in just a moment's time. Then a couple of interviews as well, and we can get wrapped up. I'm trying to stall until we get the results. Yeah.
All right, so here we go. Roy Seifert, your race winner of race 2 in Barcelona, with Noah Tuomala with an awesome P2 and Luke Mitchell in P3, rounding off the podium. Craig Patterson in P4, Mikael Tuomala in P5, Magnus Okkenhog in P6 with a late move on Justin van der Smitten, who finishes right behind him. Jesse Lahtinen in P8 with the unfortunate incident, Bobby Vakanov in P9 and Scott Mitchell making it into the top 10. Massimiliano Draboli makes it into 11th with Maxime Bellu in P12, Davide Zanini in P13, Dan Hutt in P14, Seva Panasenko in P15 with Mateusz Piszczan in P16, Tom Ely in P17 with Luca Tizzano in P18, Dominic Schlabon in P19 with Jörn Dix in P20. 21st comes Florian Haase with Alano Zbino in P22, Scott Morris in P23 with Brandon Robert, your last finisher, in P24. The rest, Louis Hartley, Patrikur Magnusson, Jack Nichols, Lucas Thulin, Mihailo Vicentievich, Brody Lawless count as DNFs.
Yes, and second time I've done that today, clicking into another voice channel. I just need to turn off that feature, and we'll be okay. Let's get some interviews then. And first of all, I think we should probably drag in our Red Ven couple as we see the calendar as well. And Canadian Grand Prix up next, 20th of June. That's the next date for your calendar. Anyway, hello gentlemen, Roy Seifert and Stephen Lexo join us in the call. Roy, 30 plays, good penalty, the pace. Quick interview. Right, welcome back. We apologise about all of this. We've had to throw over to this screen because our interviews weren't working. We are joined by Patrick Magnusson. And unfortunately, I think it'll be our last interview because of all of the strife. Patrick, difficult weekend, but at the end of the day, you drove pretty well.
Yeah, it was very good. Also, after the start, I had good confidence because I had been leading for like 11 laps, but the tire were pretty bad. And then I managed to go over the sausage curb and take a shooting star in Mario Kart and straight into the traffic. Race 2, I had to avoid someone.
Well, that first race win is surely there for you at some point this season.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, next track is Canada. I like that track, and I think it's my favorite track of the season. I don't like Spain. I just don't know. I just don't like the track at all. But Canada is a lot stronger for me, I think.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll speak to you soon.
Yep. All right. Bye bye.
Right. So I think that does it. Yeah. Closing thoughts.
Yeah, definitely interesting race this time out. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about in terms of the track with sausage curbs going on for the next series, but that's not our problem. Well, at least it's not your problem, but it might become my problem later on into the next week. But yeah, for sure, we'll keep our eyes on those. But for now, that was all from me.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you, GPVWC wise, on Thursday for FS1. But from ourselves, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the Canadian Grand Prix. Thanks for watching.